Hi there traders, let's talk about this, the last Friday opportunity, what was happening here and why this opportunity was this one here. So I was making the last videos about that trade, why I was taking that on all this philosophy and the patterns and psychology inside and why my take profit was here. But I wanna talk about why this opportunity is now back again. The same trade, the same idea what I have here, but let's talk about a little bit. So let's change the time frame to the 45. Then we see the bigger picture a little bit. So my idea starts in that bottom here, because that bottom here was pushing the price to my line here, and now we get rejected and price is making all the way this movement down here. So for me, that information what I get here, as soon as when we break these lows in that in here, and we're going all the way down here, so that was the full movement, the breaking structure. So for me, this information here is actually supporting. So as soon as when the price is back now above this zone, so idea is to make the same movement back to this zone, the same movement what was happening here, and now break it, then read this somewhere and go back to this zone. So the whole idea is to do that. So now what we happen here was this movement, and now we have this healthy trend line upside. It's kind of like 100% movement. It's like, yeah boys, we are ready, let's do it now. We're gathering some more energy, we have more energy, we have some more self-motivation. Let's do it, boys, let's do it. It's like now we're gathering more energy, we break that zone, and we're gonna make exactly the same movement here, because that's the idea and opportunity. But what was happening as soon as when the price was above that zone here? The same thing, where was this the last trade what I was talking about? Like if you're gonna zoom in now here, so this same, the rejection high is exactly the same high what is here. And now when the price was going above it, we have very strong rejection. We didn't even touch our opportunity zone, what was that's the 45-minute time frame. So we didn't touch our opportunity zone, and price was breaking back here, making the box of information, and now then we have these equal lows, and that break retest, that was my entry. And then my idea was this low is not holding anymore, so that's why I was seeing that trade to to sell back to the 64,500 on the weekly level. But what was happening, we actually retest our major level, and now the price was going higher and stopped me out. But the higher time frame, the major information in my head was, so we have super beautiful trend upside, very solid, very healthy. There was absolutely no problem to break that trend line, this price action. But now we retest it. So for me was the information what I gathering is like, the trend looks super, very confident, very self-motivated to make this movement, to make this movement here. But now we need a second retest. And then I was thinking like, why you need a second retest? You wasn't sure enough, or what was happening in this moment here? Like what was happening inside the human behavior? You wasn't sure enough to make that movement. And now what was happening here, we have this retest, and look at this full extension expression movement. Like it's for me, all this movement was kind of, it's like you wanna do let's say you're looking at your body and I have to start like do some push-ups and stuff like that. But soon as when you have this idea, you kind of going like 100% in your first day. So you're gonna do everything, you do so much thing, and the next thing what is happening next day, your muscles are super tired, everything is hurt, and you're like kind of like it's bad. And then it's what's happening, it's like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 weeks you don't do anything after that. You know, it's like so much you was using so much energy in the first day, you break yourself. And that was the same thing what was happening the second retest. It was like so much energy to just like to push higher. And the interesting thing was for me was I want to see what the price action is doing when we touch the same zone here. And what we see, we have major breaking structure downsides, like this rejection and this rejection are super strong. So that's why my idea right now is this low and this low is not holding anymore. We kind of waste all this strong energy and this self-motivation what we have, what was created here, what I was thinking. But after this retest, we have this super crazy movement upsides. It was like turning this trade around, and now this trade is, after this rejection movement downside, this trade was, pop up my mindset again, the same idea. This low is not holding now, those two lows is not holding, and now going back to the weekly level. But let's zoom in here in the details and let's talk about entry. So we have to mid. So this was like the higher time frame, the major information what was building up this lower time frame trade, the information for me. So let's talk about here. So I was waiting this pullback. We have this rejection high here, and what is the principle is breaking to go here, or we have rejection and going back here. That's why my take profit was back this zone, this little scalp here. But what we see here, this principle was actually respected, and the price was going back here. So that's mean this principle is now complete, and I was waiting what is the next rejection, what the price action is doing. So if we're going to zoom in here, so we have this first rejection downside, the second retest, and now the price is moving here. But what is created here? So here it is created the box opportunity. The first it's created here. So now we have to follow the information. So now we see the price is here, bouncing here. We are bouncing here because we have this low here. The price is still holding the lows, and now we have this impulse movement downsides, this breaking structure. But soon as when this was happening, in my mind was like this movement and this movement it is exactly the same. It's mean this pattern what we have here, this is the extension of this pattern here. So as soon as when this movement was happening, this zone now is open. Now first we created, and after this movement, this zone is now open, because this movement and this movement is one, it's one pattern. They became one. So now after this movement, I was dragging this one, and when this price is happening, and there is one thing what I'm seeing all the time when those kind of price actions are starting forming, and the thing is when you're gonna zoom in, the first one here, and this one here. So what you start seeing here, the first time when the price was going above it, we have the rejection down here, again rejection, now again here rejection, and now again here we have the rejection, and now we have this movement. And now was the retest of my entry. So all my entries are here, retest entry. My stop loss gonna be the last week high, and the last week high is here, a little bit higher. That was my stop loss, and the whole idea that trade was to hold now the same take profit what I have here. You know, back to the 64,500, the weekly level here. And now if we're gonna put this trade back here to 64,500. Ooh. And that's a trade. 96.4 risk reward ratio. That is just awesome. Yeah, but this wanna get stopped out. If you wanna watch this video, I made a few videos about it. But yeah, that was the entry there, and the whole idea is to hold back down there. And it's awesome if we're gonna put this one here, and you see how this entry was entered. As soon as when we go above here, retest its entry, rejection, and close back to the same zone. And again this rejection, this rejection, this rejection, and now we have the breaking structure of this low here, and now we start going down and down and down. But it's it's very interesting how the price is. If you have this kind of higher time frame vision or higher time frame patterns and all this behaving in your heads, and you see those details happening in front of your face, you have to just open your eyes in the possibilities. And I already create that possibility before here, because I was thinking this low is not gonna hold, but now it is behaving what is happening. All this here was just pointing this movement is back now. There is possibility it can happen again. My own mind, my own words, and it can happen again. But let's see how the price is behaving and how it's building. So this was the last Friday entry. It's been now 3 days, and let's see what's gonna happen. But the risk reward ratio is just it's a risk reward ratio is the same craziness like my mind. Even this one here was pretty 41 risk reward ratio. It's it's a big one. But yeah, that's the idea, and that's the psychology behind it. Psychology behind this behavior here. And there is of course there is much more little more details what you can look, like especially like how we have those turning points between the zones, the same rejection with the same turning point between the zones, and here was the same thing, the turning point between the zones, and then the the beautiful structure, the spiky structure, all those little details there. And then you have the Fibonacci confirmation here. You look in both in the top and the down here. You have the 618 confirmation here with nice a nice retest here. All those details are around here more. Like I have like much more details in my head, and psychology patterns and philosophy patterns in my head, and this kind of energy between yin and yang. But it's very hard to explain all those details because my English language and all those things. But the full story is behind that. And never force any of your trades. Just if you open the computer screen, don't be like, oh, I want to sell along, and that's your idea and you have nothing else in your mind. Like when I'm opening the trading view, I have no idea even what I'm even looking for, or like I have zero. Like I'm start looking at candlestick by candlesticks to the first mastering the story, what's going on with the psychology, the first mastering the story. And when I have the higher time frame or the higher patterns or the different level patterns to recognize, and I see those, then I can a little bit zoom in and looking some kind of details and universal language and all those different patterns. And then you focus more details and more details, because you have kind of idea what you're looking for, but then you're patient and wait when everything is there in front of your eyes. Because the same thing was when this level was created. It was when this level was created here in Thursday, one day before, entry was Friday, this was created before, you were following the information, and that was everything what I was doing. I was following information, I didn't force any trades, I didn't look any trades, but of course I have this opportunity in my mind. But now after this one, I realized this zone is now active, so I have to watch what is going on with the price action. And now I see this forming, and then I realize this entry point here, it is exactly, if you're looking this one here, the pattern is same. If you look at the same thing here, like look at how they are exactly the same. You have the same point here. Oh, actually they are exactly even same. Look at this one here. So you see the price action is going here, bouncing here, and now we create the same zone, the same opportunity here. And if you're looking now at the same opportunity here, I'm gonna push this one here. This entry was exactly the same entry what was happening here. So those two one here, it is actually 100% same. Maybe a little bit different because we have the first one here. So this is the first one what we create, and now if you see this tiny this one here, when those two boxes are going over, then it's the third is created here, and that's the rejection line. So that's the OG one, and that's the new one what was forming, but those two are working together. They're using the same principle and they're working together. But that thing, I've been seeing, if you're trading years and you are, you see all this behavior happening all the time, you see those points, and that was the same thing was happening here. You see those trend lines, this kind of behavior you see all the time. Here is one, here, oh look at that, same thing again here, exactly the same thing. Box to the here we have the momentum, and here we have something. Yeah, there is the momentum here is the something, but it's not quite clear here. But if you're looking this one here, there was something, but it wasn't super clear. The same thing, it's like it's gonna break this, going back here, and then back in the zone and break under. Same thing here, break it back here. Here we didn't have break, here we have the same break and the same zone. So those things are playing out all the time. And if you're trading like years, like you see those places, at least I'm seeing those places everywhere. And those are the details, the muscle memory, what we have to remember. But let's see how this trade is playing out. And if you have some question about my crazy mind, leave in the comments. And this crazy idea, 94 risk reward ratio, not bad. So I'm gonna finish today, and I'm seeing every single one tomorrow. Thank you and ciao.